Reverend Murata broke up the black people. We had the largest African-American Nichiren Shoshu Sangha or group in America. Reverend Murata broke it up. And after that, I saw differences in the Nichiren Shoshu priests. Things started going down. Now, in 1999, after seeing what went down in Ghana, and what happened was when I tried to communicate what went down to my SGI brothers, they would not listen to me. They would not accept my letters. And there was a white guy by the name of Craig Bratcher. I said, Craig, I want to tell my story, man. They won't even talk to me. And Craig Bratcher helped me to set up a website called The Proud Black Buddhist. And I began to write stories of the Proud Black Buddhist, and I would get into the battles. And I was a member of Nichiren Shoshu. Now, what happened was, after going to Ghana, every year I would travel to the head Nichiren Shoshu temple in Japan. Now, what happened was, I was not controlled by anyone. I was a proud black man. And I had the Proud Black Buddhist website, and I told it like it is, like it was. I was not controlled by no SGI, and I was not controlled by no Nichiren Shoshu. But let me tell you the story. I was at the head temple in Japan in 2003. Now, there's this leader. His name is Tony. Tony, if you're listening, brother, I forgot about you. Tony was a big Nichiren Shoshu leader. He questioned the fact that a black man could have a website and not get permission from the priest. And so Tony there I am at the head temple in Japan. And Tony got this young priest by the name of Reverend Takahashi. And Reverend Takahashi and Tony came there and they confronted me. They said, I want to know about this website that you have. I looked at that little circle priest, little punk priest. I said, wait a minute. Let me tell you something. First of all, you are not my priest and I know Japanese culture. You have no business in my face talking to me. I said, number two, let me tell you something, young man, young priest. I am an American citizen and I have freedom of religion. And if you dare to say something to me about my website of the Proud Black Buddhist, I will take you to court because I have religious freedom. I'm no Japanese. You can't come talk to me and you better get up my face. However, since we are at the head temple of Nichiren Shoshu in Japan, let's go upstairs to the Overseas Bureau because I want to discuss issues of racism anyway in Nichiren Shoshu. I said, I dare you to do it. Have some guts. Come, let's go upstairs. Let's talk. I said, we at the temple? That young priest ducked his head down and walked out like a little puppy. And I looked at Tony. I said, ha. But what that Nichiren Shoshu priest did was 1 year later, my buddy out of California says, man, what's his name? Tom. His name was Tom. Can't think of the brother's last name right now. Tom told me, says, man, they was talking about you at Tozan. All the priests got together and talked about you. Now what happened was, what these Japanese dudes did was, they didn't want to see a black man stand up, have a website, do something without the priests, because they are control freaks, and the Japanese wanted to control you. They want to control your thinking. Now, I didn't think no more about this. In 2006, I want to show you a picture. I am at Magoji Temple in Chicago. And I brought my beautiful wife to Reverend Murata. And I asked Reverend Murata to marry me because my faith was in Nichiren Shoshu. That I am a dedicated, loyal Buddhist. But them Japanese had it in for me because they got it in for a brother. I could go to the high priest and high temple at Tasekaji, and I could film in Tasekaji. I filmed 3 high priests. I would talk to the people in Tasekaji, but when you got to America, you had a different model. You had a different kind of thinking that was going on in this Buddhism. So there I was in the middle. There's Dasaki Keita, the Buddhist God, and there's Nichiren Shoshu High Priest, God. Now, we come to 2008, and I want to show you pictures of what happened in 2008. What happened in 2008, Reverend Murata, who had broke up the black folk in Memphis, who sabotaged, who broke up the black meetings in Memphis, and he put his own puppet leader, Mr. Gerald Hoskins, as the leader. And I would go to those meetings, and they had controlled the thinking. I would say, why is it that this man who was college educated, went to a black school, why is it that this black man cannot read the Gosho? Why is it that he does not study? Now, there's fights going on all over Memphis. Black people not talking to each other. There's the SGI on this side. There's Nichiren Shoshu on this side. And you got black folk fighting a Japanese war. Here we are struggling. In 2008, I asked this priest, I said, Reverend Iwaki, when you come to Memphis, Tennessee, would you please do a prayer for Dr. Martin Luther King? This low-down, dirty dog of a priest. And Nichiren Shonin calls priest dogs in the Ghost Show. This priest got together with Gerald Hoskins, a black man who went to a black school, who had the meetings at his house. They got together and said, listen, I'm going to come to Memphis, Tennessee, but do not tell Anthony Elmore I am here. It just so happened that I, out of my honesty, called a priest and said, Reverend, if you ever come to Memphis, Tennessee, I'm looking forward to you visiting the Civil Rights Museum, and I would like you to do some things to really know and learn about our culture. He says, well, I'm coming to Memphis on Saturday. Now, what happened was, it was about August the 16th, I believe, in 2008. And what happened in the interim period, instead of him going to the Martin Luther King Civil Rights Museum, what had happened was black leader, a man who we call the Black Moses, Isaac Hayes, had died. Gerald Hoskins' house and Isaac Hayes in the Stax Museum, where the soul music was born, where soul music was happening at Stax Museum, and Isaac Hayes, a Grammy and an Oscar Award winner for the song of Shaft. Isaac Hayes, a man who had went to Accra, Ghana to open up a school, a man who was a hero to us black people. All I asked this Nichiren Shoshu priest to do was go. We can walk down about 1,000 feet to the Stax Museum. Gerald Hoskins lived on a street called Azalea. Azalea was the next street over, 1,000 feet from the Stax Museum, and this low-down, dirty, rotten priest, who calls himself a priest, would not do a prayer for Isaac Hayes. I put it on the website, and I documented it. Not only would this priest not do a prayer for Isaac Hayes, he would not pray for Dr. Martin Luther King. And I was at a meeting at Gerald Hoskins' house one day, and I was complaining, and the sister who was over named Rosalind Parks, who's supposed to be my friend, Rosalind, I said, this is a low-down, dirty, no-good priest. And me and Rosalind got into it because I had proof of facts that this guy was racist. Would not do a prayer for Dr. Martin Luther King, would not say a prayer for Isaac Hayes, and Rosalind and I got into it. And Gerald Hoskins also chimed in, and Gerald said, I said, I'm going to leave. I don't need to come anymore. And I was in the hallway leaving, and Gerald says, man, I want to ask you to leave. I said, brother, I've already left your house. I never came back to this brother's house again. Now, that is in 2008. Now, back in 2006, I went to a meeting at Gerald Hoskins' house, and there was Reverend Murata there. And I asked Reverend Murata, I said, Reverend Murata, I would like to know about the grand, the cosmic Buddha at Totoji Temple in the ancient capital of Nara, Japan. This man has an image of an African. This was almost 1,000 years before Nichiren Shonin. They have this is on the National Historic Register. I would like to know about this Buddha. It's the largest statue in the world, the largest indoor statue in the world. It's made of bronze and gold, and it's the image of a black man. And I asked this Nichiren Shoshu priest, Reverend Murata, and Reverend Murata looked me in the eyes and says, I don't deal in racism. How dare you? It has nothing to do with racism. When you go to Totoji Temple and the ancient capital of Japan, the ancient capital of Nara in Japan, the world's largest Buddhist statue is that of a black man, and this priest said he don't deal in racism just because I asked him about the history. He was a liar. He was a scum. And then Reverend Murata, Reverend Iwaki, I asked Reverend Iwaki about this. This man is a priest of Nichiren Shoshu, the largest iconic Buddhist statue indoor in the world, and this man tells me he don't know anything about it. How dare you? In 1998, Nichiren Shoshu opened the first Nichiren Shoshu Buddhist temple in Africa, in Accra, Ghana. In 1998, my dear wife, Zuri Amani Elmore, and I made the decision that we decided together that I would go to Ghana because Ghana was the first Nichiren Shoshu temple in Africa. And we made the decision that perhaps one day we would have a child, and maybe 20 years or 25 years later, our son would become the Nichiren Shoshu priest or chief priest at the temple in Ghana. So I, as a father, my wife was not pregnant at the time, but I was so dedicated to the Nichiren Shoshu religion that I went there to document it for my son because we wanted my son to be a priest. And this was in 1998. And surprisingly, what happened in 1998, my wife got pregnant, And on just 16 years ago, my son turned 16 years ago because he was born on October 22nd, 1998. But now, as I look back in retrospect, and every time I look at my son, it's kind of painful because I wanted that young man to be a Nichiren Shoshu priest because his daddy was so dedicated to the Buddhist religion. Now, in 1999, after I went to Ghana and I saw all the evil things that SGR, the Daishoku Keita did, and I got into this big fight with SGR members. But what happened was, the members in Memphis did not want to hear it because they were brainwashed. They did not want to hear what Daishoku Keita did to the Buddhist members in Accra, Ghana. So, this guy, as I said earlier, his name was Craig Bratcher, white guy. He was practicing at Mojoji Temple in Chicago with me. And I asked Craig to help me, and Craig helped me to put together our website called The Proud Black Buddhist. Now, in 2010, you saw the video earlier that I had this website, and a few people at the temple at Taisekaji was talking about the Proud Black Buddhist website. And of course, that was Tony, who was I guess he was an assistant Choto or some kind of lay leader in New York. And Tony made mention, Tony says, if anything was not of the priest, it was not real. And I told you earlier about the conflict that I had with the Nichiren Shoshu priest, Reverend Takahashi. Now, unknowingly, what I did was, after having the conflict with Tony and Reverend Takahashi, I never thought any more about it, and I was the most dedicated Nichiren Shoshu member. Each month I gave Dokyo, I made a donation to the temple, and I was so dedicated. But now, in looking at this thing in retrospect, Tony did me a big favor, because what Tony allowed me to do was Tony allowed me to see the real face of the Nichiren Shoshu priest. Now, this is what the priest did to me. See, I was wondering what was happening in our life and why Nichiren Shoshu priests would not come by and visit me, because when we first kind of started going to Nichiren Shoshu meetings, there was Reverend Sagano, who I love so much. I love Reverend Yoshida and Accra, Ghana. I thought they were such wonderful people. Now, this is what happened to me. The Nichiren Shoshu priests conspired against me. What they did was, they came up with a plan. I call it isolation. What they did was, they isolated me as a black man. What they did was, they were saying, we're going to discredit him, but we're going to do it in a very subliminal way. Now, understand, in 1999, and I want you to see a picture. This is a picture of my son. I had our son, my wife, take my son to Taisekaji Temple to get Gojakai. You know, that is to join the Nichiren Shoshu religion, and I wanted him Gojakai at the head temple in Taisekaji. Now, in 2001, when I got into this conflict, what happened was, as I told you, T. Murray had told me they were talking about me at Tozan. Now, can you imagine? These people are supposed to be so dignified. And they're supposed to be so honest, and they're supposed to be so true blue. But what happened was, the brother says, man, they was talking about you at Taisekaji, and my priest in San Francisco, at the San Francisco temple, told me not to associate with you. Can you imagine? I'm a Nichiren Shoshu member, and this priest in San Francisco tell my friend, an African American, do not associate with Anthony Elmore. And what this priest did was, he told the lay guy, don't associate with me. Now, what was happening is that for all the years I am practicing and I'm a dedicated guy and I'm wondering what's going on. I was going back and forth to Ghana. I would go to Ghana 3 times a year. I would go to the head temple and I would go and I was wondering what was going on, why I was getting all this cold treatment. In fact, when Reverend Murata left, this is in 2008, Reverend Murata left Magoji Temple and went to Masenji Temple, I think in Washington, D.C. And the new priest came in. His name was Reverend Iwaki, who I showed you about earlier. Now what happened was, I didn't know what was going on, didn't know what was happening in Memphis, but I know things were not right. And what I told Reverend Iwaki, I said, sir, since you are new, I want to help you to help the movement in Memphis, and I would like for you to come to the Dr. Martin Luther King Civil Rights Museum, and I would like for you to see and learn and understand the culture of Memphis, and together we can help build Buddhism. I was so dedicated. And what happened was, I put letters in writing, and I want to show you letters that I wrote Reverend Iwaki. Now this is starting in March of 2008. And I wrote this man letters, but he never would respond to my letters. And it was just by accident that I had found that he was going to come to Memphis, Tennessee. This man took my money every month, but he was not going to let me know that he was coming to Memphis. These guys had totally isolated me. What they did not want to do was they didn't want to do anything to help me get credibility. And I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know why I was getting such cold treatment. In 2006, as I showed you earlier, Reverend Murata had married me and my beautiful wife, Bogalich, who had, met in Accra and Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. I had an Ethiopian wife, and I had Reverend Murata marry us, and I was taking my wife to these meetings, and the meetings were so horrible, and we were treated so bad. And it was like a terrible thing. And everything I did, these guys were coming back and trying to destroy everything that we did. I had no idea what was going on. All I knew that it was horrible. It was a horrible situation I brought my new wife into. And ladies and gentlemen, it took me until just last year to find out that these Nichiren Shoshu priests had conspired against me. How horrible. Anyway, now that I know, and I look at my son, I says, wow, what would have happened if I had made that boy or that young man become a Nichiren Shoshu priest? That is not the right course. That is not the right course of African American people. I cannot tell people to deal with these people because they are not genuine and honest people. Now, in 2013, last year, my friend Shaka had joined Nichiren Shu. And I went to a Nichiren Shu meeting, and what had happened was, Shaka, even in his letter, had indicated that they did not like the way I challenged the Nichiren Shoshu priests. In other words, the Nichiren Shu did not like the way I challenged Nichiren Shoshu, and they, in essence told me, don't come back to their meetings anymore. So, what has happened is that I found out that all of the Japanese sects work in concert, and they work in concert really against the interests of black people because they are really not interested in black people. They're only interested in maintaining their role and their jobs as priests, but they're not really interested in helping people. They're interested in maintaining their culture. I want to also show you a picture that in 2012, I asked members in Memphis, doing an honor that they were making for Dr. Martin Luther King, let us Buddhists get together and pray for Dr. Martin Luther King. Those people were so frightened. The African Americans and the two white guys that we had asked to come, they didn't have a problem, but it's the African Americans that were so afraid. And the SGI members did not want to be seen. It was so horrible that the Japanese have created an environment where people don't talk to each other more, an environment of non-peace. So, I just wanted you to know that if you think that these Japanese are there to help you, or they're interested in you, you got another story. That is not happening, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, let me bring this lecture to a close. I've told the story, I've documented everything, and now you can kind of see for yourself and you can make your own decision. But one thing happened that was very good. What Tony did to us in Taiseki at the temple, he at least let me see the real face of the Nichiren Shoshu priest. My friend Shaka let me see the real face of Nichiren Shoshu rather, and I'd already saw what Daisaki Keita and SGI did. Now this Buddhism is a wonderful thing. And what happened was, after leaving SGI, Nichiren Shoshu, and being rejected by Nichiren Shu, there I was, nothing. But a wonderful thing had happened, ladies and gentlemen, and let me tell you this experience. Even though I was with nobody, and the only thing I could turn to was the Lotus Sutra. The Lotus Sutra is so powerful that I can go to the Lotus Sutra, but let me tell you that when the Nichiren Shoshu and the Nichiren Shu rejected Anthony Elmore, there was one phenomenon that had happened, and that was Anthony Elmore, who created in 1999 the Proud Black Buddhist website. Our website is the #1 Black Buddhist website in the world with Google. If you Google the name Proud Black Buddhist, we come up first. And what that led us to believe and understand is that we are the leaders. That if anybody across the world type in the word Black Buddhist, Proud Black Buddhists come up. And so we have now been able to set a foundation, to start a new era, to start a new Buddhism. Now we're practicing Buddhism honestly because now we can teach the real Lotus Sutra. We can teach the real Buddhism. So it is great, it's wonderful. Thank you for listening, and keep in touch with us through the Proud Black Buddhist website. Thank you very much. I get down on my knees and I pray every day. I pray the Lotus Sutra way. I pray every day to do my best to practice peace and love and respect. I get down on my knees and I pray every day. I pray the Lotus Sutra way, devotion to the mystic law and cause and effect teaching. I believe and wisdom reaching. I get down on my knees and I pray every day. I pray the Lotus Sutra way. The Lotus Sutra makes a lot of sense. It's about self-development and enlightenment. I get down on my knees and I pray. pray every day. I pray the Lotus Sutra way.